Hello, this is Kate from Daily Tarot Girl, and welcome to your weekly tarot card reading. For this week's reading, I am using the Prisma Visions Tarot deck by James R. Eads. And this is actually a very unique tarot deck. I've had this deck for a while, but I don't use it that much because it is very different. It's a very special, very unique deck. It's not always the easiest deck to read from, so I'm kind of challenging myself a little bit here. But I'm excited to read with a kind of a different, sort of quirky deck this week. Okay, so my intention with this reading, as always, is to get an overview of the themes and the energies for the upcoming week so that we can get some fresh ideas about how to approach this week. My name is Kate. I'm also known as the Daily Tarot Girl, and please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this video. It really helps my channel out. Okay. Beginning of the week, so Monday, Tuesday-ish, we have the Fool. Now let's zoom in just a little here. All right. So we have the Fool for the beginning of the week. Now, the Fool is the very first major arcana card. It is so first that it's not even number one, it's 0. And that 0 represents potential. It represents what is unmanifested. It's like when you start a new project or you start a new path or something and you haven't really done anything yet. So it's all potential. It's like nothing has been manifested yet, but there's so much that could be manifested. So really special that we have the Fool at the beginning of the week. The Fool requires a certain amount of trust, a certain amount of, I want to say, like optimism, like a positive expectation. What the Fool is asking you to do at the beginning of the week is let go of some of your preconceived notions, some of your preconceived ideas. Letting go as much as you can of judgment, pessimism, fear, anxiety. Letting go of that as much as you can, that is what is going to allow you to step into this week like it is, a clean slate, like it's like a fresh thing. So that's the first message I get with the Fool. Now I'm just going to look at the imagery here. So we have a pelican. There's a life preserver on the post. So as you can see, like this deck, this isn't your typical imagery or symbolism for the Fool, although I do like how the life preserver is like the 0, like the 0 up here. That's kind of cool. Yeah, okay. And the pelican, the pelican is not, he hasn't taken flight yet. He's just sitting there, but he's kind of probably getting ready at some point to take flight. So I feel like with the Fool, as we enter this week, to me, it seems like in many ways, all of us and everyone who watches this video is going to experience this a bit differently because we all don't have the exact same lives. We're all, going through different stuff. But the message I get with this card is that we're all kind of on the precipice of something new. That's what the Fool is all about. It's like something new. Some of us might be on the precipice of some sort of new path in like a big way. And some of us might be, on the precipice of like a new project or something new, but it's not necessarily like a massive life change or anything like that. So we're all going to experience this newness a little bit differently this week. And the Fool is kind of, it's like we haven't yet taken flight yet. We haven't yet embarked on this new adventure. We're just kind of gathering steam. We're gathering ourselves. We're getting kind of ready. And the Fool is saying, be open to potential. Be open to this idea that anything could happen. Really embrace this idea of potential. Now, just because there's a potential for something to unfold or to happen. It doesn't mean it will. It's the potential. It doesn't mean it's going to turn into something. But that openness of like considering what is possible. That's the question that comes from this card, is like, what is possible if you were to start this week off from a place of trust, from a place of optimism? What is the best case scenario for how your week is going to unfold? What are you open to? What are the possibilities this week? And give yourself free rein to kind of consider what is actually possible for you this week, or even, this month or the next coming month. Okay, so then moving on to the middle of the week, so kind of like Wednesday, Thursday-ish, midweek, we have Eight of Swords, which is a very different energy from the Fool. The Fool has an openness. There's a lightness to the Fool. And then Eight of Swords is a little heavier. Here we see a figure, and she's kind of like hugging her knees. She doesn't have shoes on. She's in the snow. This card feels quite cold. And there's also something interesting going on here. Like, we've got all the swords lined up in a row. That's very different than, say, in the Rider-Waite tarot, where the swords are surrounding the figure on the card. Here, they're all in a row. And she's like gotten to the end. And there's something interesting about that. And so I want to ask you, what do you think that row of swords represents? What jumps out to you? And when you look at the row of swords, what is the word that comes to you? When I look at those swords, the word that comes to me is convention. Like following a straight and narrow path, and then getting to the end of that path and being like, shit, what now? What now? What's the next step? And kind of having a little bit of a crisis. I also think it's interesting that there's wings here on the edge of this card, and that to me is a symbol of flight, of like leaving something, of freedom. And so there is this glimmer of hope of freedom in this card as well. So what does this card mean for us? What's going on here midweek? So Eight of Swords shows that sometime this week, maybe in the middle of the week, you may feel kind of stuck. You might feel a little bit powerless, like you crave freedom, you crave a sense of agency, of power, but you're not sure how to go about claiming that. And just feeling a little lost, like you've come to the end of the line and you're not sure where you take it from here. Now, at first glance, the Eight of Swords looks very different from the Fool. So it looks like, oh, the beginning of the week is all optimism and hope and positivity and openness and potential. And then midweek, things are shit. But no, that's not true. These cards are actually more similar than you might realize. So why I say that is the Fool is about like stepping into a new journey, a new phase, doing something new, going on some sort of adventure, manifesting, or embracing all the potential before you manifest something. And then the Eight of Swords, she's also kind of in the same place, but it just feels scarier. Like she's at the end of this line and it's time to do something new. It's time to change the dance, like change her steps, change the pattern. And because she hasn't done it yet, she's not sure how. So it's very similar to the Fool. It's almost like the Fool is like your soul is craving a new adventure. The Eight of Swords is like your mind is trying to catch up with your soul. So your soul is like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready for a new adventure. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. Eight of Swords, the Suit of Swords is all about the mind and your thoughts and your brain and your intellect. And the intellect is not the same thing as the intellect, and your mind operates differently than your soul. And so the Eight of Swords recognizes that you're ready for something new. You know, she's come to the end of her line here. You're ready for something new. You're ready to step into a new way of being in the world, but your brain just hasn't caught up to that yet. Your brain hasn't caught up to the desire of your soul. It's like your soul is like, I'm yearning for this, I'm desiring this. And your brain is like, whoa, 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 but how? How is that even going to be possible? Let's look at the end of the week. The Hermit. Okay, so another major arcana card here for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right, so this is interesting. And the Hermit, by the way, is number 9 in the major arcana. So we have 0, and then we have 8, and then we have 9. Okay. Really interesting that we have the moon, the full moon in the background of the Hermit, kind of like the 0 in the Fool. So there's a connection here between the Fool and the Hermit. Now the Fool, in some ways, is kind of foolish and naive. This is about being kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, being ridiculously optimistic and fresh, like a baby deer going out into the wild. Whereas the Hermit is about wisdom. It's about attaining a sense of wisdom. And so these two cards are similar yet different. All right, I'm just going to look at the Hermit here and see what comes to mind. I'm noticing a bridge. So there's a bridge over the river, and there's a figure. You might not be able to see it that well. I'm just going to actually bring it a little bit closer for you. There's a figure crossing the bridge. The bridge is interesting because, you know, we have the imagery of the swords lined up here. And I talked about the figure in the card being kind of at the end of the line. And then we have this bridge. And so whatever little mini crises you experience midweek, especially when it comes to like figuring out how to do something. It's like the Fool is like, oh, I want to do this. And then the Eight of Swords is like, but how? How is that even possible? How is that even doable? There's a real in a way, there's like an earthiness to the Eight of Swords. It's like your soul yearns for something, but then your mind is like, well, hold on a minute. This has to be realistic. This has to be doable. You know, you live on planet Earth after all. And then we get to the Hermit and it's like, there is this bridge. It's like you figure something out by the end of the week. You might have a little bit of an epiphany, something shifts. And when I look at all the cards together, it's like things shift from a place of openness to a place of uncertainty and maybe even feeling defeated to a place of wisdom. So the Hermit ultimately is a card of wisdom. Now the Hermit is also about alone time and kind of moving inward rather than moving outward and connecting with yourself on a deeper level. I like to say that the Hermit is all about the relationship that you have with yourself, or even like the relationship that you have with your soul and with your spiritual nature. And I think that this weekend particularly, might be a really good time to set aside a little bit of alone time, whether you want to spend that time reading or meditating, painting, drawing, something that's kind of meditative though, something that's kind of low key that just allows you to kind of be with yourself, be still, be quiet. I feel like the message of the Hermit is that it's through stillness that you're able to actually move forward. And because I look at the Hermit and I see the Hermit is ultimately a card of stillness and moving inward, but we see a lot of moving forward, like the Hermit's crossing that bridge. We have the water that's flowing. So there is movement and stillness with this card. And the darkness too of the Hermit is really calling to me. Like this is a nighttime card. It's very dark. And the message I get here with the Hermit, and this might start to kind of manifest for you on the weekend, is that it's in those times of darkness, confusion, those times of confusion, those times of darkness, that great wisdom is acquired, that you actually find a part of yourself that you might have lost. And once you find that part, you can then kind of pick up the pieces, cross that bridge, and move forward. Okay, so I've been babbling for almost 15 minutes. Wow. Okay, so let's look at all of the cards here. All together. Okay, so we've got the crescent moon here. We've got the full moon here. So there's something coming to fruition this week. And for some of us, this might be something big. This might be a big shift. This might be exciting. And for some of us, this might be more internal. Like might not be as obvious. Might be something more that feels more minor in nature, but make no mistake, it still is going to have a big impact for you in the long run. And it feels good. So it feels like there's some sort of shift that happens. It's almost like some sort of test or some sort of challenge that you're able to succeed at and overcome in some way. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else I want to say. So feel free to share your own thoughts, your own interpretations on these cards in the comment section. I always love reading all the comments and different takes. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope you find this reading helpful. If you want to learn more about tarot cards and tarot card reading, check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'll put the link below. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful week.